So a brief history then of the Shins. They were formed in 1996 by James Mercer. He was a member of a band called Flake, or Flake Music, out of Albuquerque in New Mexico. This band consisted of Mercer, drummer Jesse Sandoval, keyboardist Martin Crandall and bassist Neil Longford. Anyway, he formed the Shins for a change of pace and enlisted Sandoval on drums, but Mercer became the band's primary songwriter. Their first release was a 7-inch single in 1998, but the debut LP, O Inverted World, didn't arrive until 2001. It was critically acclaimed and solidified the band as one of indie rock's definitive artists. It also put Albuquerque on the musical map somewhat, with its gloriously skewed pop and dripping with yearning, whimsy and brittle innocence. That's a quote from Wikipedia. A second album, Chutes to Narrow, followed. I have got that, but can't recall much of it. Wincing the Night Away arrived in 2007, and then the fourth album, Port of Morrow, the one that I'm reviewing, in 2012. First in 5 years. Major lineup changes. The founding members had Hernandez bass, Crandall keyboards and Sandoval drums all departed, and he said he needed he deemed it as an aesthetic decision to part ways with his bandmates. And of course he was involved in a side project with Broken Bells with Danger Mouse. I've heard that album and it's a pretty good one. Primarily this is a collaboration between Mercer and Kirsten. Mercer's lyrics are based around fatherhood, family love, and a nostalgic look at childhood in Germany and adolescence in the United States. Musically, it's inspired by 70s German pop, and it's melodic and heavily layered, while adding a great emphasis on electronic instrumentation. This is Port of Morrow by the Shins, 2012. I've heard this album a few times now, but I thought I'd give it some more analysis this time round. It's the baby of one James Mercer. He's the creative talent behind this sound. This album, actually, he has a number of other musicians with him, 8 in all, but his previous efforts have been virtually a solo effort, describing the music alternative pop, new wave, I guess, is the best way of describing it. It's energised, it's uplifting, it's extremely well played, it's got some crisp production, and the sound is very easy on the ear. And this opening track, the Rifle Spiral, it's got a nice mix of keyboards, tight rhythm guitars, strong bass drums to fall back on, and some neat little synth touches, and it's sang extremely well, and I really like it. So, simple song. It's the second track. It's a little slower than the first, but it's got much again a nice tempo. I really like the lead vocals there. They're sort of they've got a polish to them. They've got a fun aspect to them. They're uplifting. That's the word. They're uplifting, and it's got a nice the sort of lead instruments, the bits of guitars and snippets of piano and keyboards. They're happening in the background. They're not thrust down your face. They sort of fill out the background sound, which gives it a solid feel, and a nice bridge as well, where the sound is stripped back. It's gentle new wave rock, but it's got a polish to it, and I do love the lead singing. It's got a sort of happiness to it. So that's my take on the second song. And as we move towards the outro, there's a really nice short guitar solo, not overdone, not too flamboyant, just steady, but again it polishes the song off, and the closing sort of lead vocals also give it a nice completeness. They're a very talented outfit, or Mercer is anyway, that's for sure. Now they owe some resemblance to a British band called the Cooks. Similar sort of fresh sort of new wave alt rock, it has to be said. The third song is Out's Only Life, and there's Mercer adds in a little bit of glockenspiel on this one, which I can hear quite clearly, and there's also some nice gentle piano, and it's a more of a ballady type of song, but it's well separated. The production engineer, and I'll try and refer to him in a second, seems to be exceptional, really. The producer, Greg Kersing, and the mixing is very, very, very professional, it has to be said. And it's once again another track's Force Bait and Switch, and it's sort of a little bit more up tempo, a little bit more sort of funky, although it's not funk music as such, but the drums sort of skip up a beat, and the rhythm is slightly faster, and it has a sort of an impish quality to it. And there's some, what I've noted whilst reading a review somewhere, the guitars described as spangly, which conjures up a sort of image. And I also like the way back in the mix are the harmonies, which are almost sort of choral, but they're quite faint. So they, once again, it doesn't smother the sound. It accentuates the bits and pieces that make up the song, without sort of drowning it out. It's very nice music. It picks up pace towards the outro, and there's that sort of chopping style guitar, chord guitar solo, which is very much a sort of a style of a yesteryear, it has to be said. Track 5, September. It's got a lovely sort of slow acoustic intro. It's a folk rock type number with a touch of country, some nice lap steel guitar that starts after a minute or so, and really creates that sort of atmospheric mood that sort of symbolises sort of country rock, but it's slow and it's deliberate and it's polished, and once again it maintains the consistency so far in the other tracks of a guy who's very precise about his music, and very clean in its delivery, and extremely well played. So we're on to No Way Down. This is a sort of pretty little skippy sort of rock song, which got certainly a
a sense of a country feel to it. It's perhaps the weakest song so far, but there's still some pretty neat little guitar bits and pieces back in the mix to keep you sort of interested. Next up is For a Fool, and it's a beauty. It's got a really nice, easy, catchy sort of chorus, some really sweet lead guitar, and the melody's quite loving, quite smoulders with sort of goodness, and it reminds me of an English band in the 70s, but I haven't quite been able to put my finger on who. Sort of could even be, you could even catch some Brinsley Sports or Nick Lowe playing this sort of song. It's a real nice track. It's called For a Fool. It really's got an irresistible hook, this song. It's got a sort of lazy, slow, bluesy ballad, rock ballad sound, but it's sort of caught back in the early 60s. It's got that sort of feel to it. Of course, the production is much more sophisticated, but its origins. I can't really say I've heard anything better for a long time. It's exquisite rock music. The next song, track 8, Fall of 82, is a cracker as well. When it started playing, it reminded me of McCartney in his early solo days. It's got that sort of wingsy feel to it. It's a lovely little pop song, quite sort of more up-tempo than the previous, but full of sort of life and vitality. The song is inspired by Mercer's own life. It's describing his transition, his tough transition from childhood in Germany to New Mexico, and the anxiety that it provoked, and the help he got from his elder sister, who moved back in with the family at that time to ease him through early adolescence. And the song, it sounds like the Cooks a little bit. It does. The vocal delivery is similar to the Cooks. So if you like the Cooks, you're going to like this. It's fresh rock. The next track, 40 Mark Straße, is also a story about Mercer's life in Germany. This is near Ramsdale Air Base, where the American military were housed up, and he observed as a young lad, I guess, that this stretch, which is the title of the song, was named by the GIs for where they could go and find a young hooker for the measly sum of 40 marks. Lots of underage prostitutes in that area, shivering in bus shelters, he described. And the tale depicts a young German boy, who's probably himself, living in an apartment with one of the girls and unaware of her extracurricular activities. And to the music, it appears that this album's getting stronger as we move towards the closure, because this develops into some really, really nice vocals. The melody's enchanting. There's some nice little dips of lead guitar, sparingly it might be added, and it's got a tempo that's so easy on the ear it's delightful sort of stuff. It's certainly got a sort of rural America type guitar feel to it. You could imagine Hank Marvin playing the guitar to this. Very atmospheric in sort of the western part of the United States. It encapsulates that feel. The final track is the title track, Port of Morrow. It's named after an industrial part on the Columbian River, which the author Mercer would see while driving, although he hadn't yet visited it, he apparently said when talking about this album. It's apparently people are asking about it, but I can't shed any more light other than it's an industrial port and rather boring. This closer then, it's sort of almost experimental really. It's not like anything else on the album. It's sort of he seems to be expanding his potential vocal repertoire, and there's a greater mood to it, but it lacks the sort of catchy melodies. It's definitely, for me, suggests that he's just trying something out, and it loses me a little bit. It's nearly 6 minutes long, but it doesn't seem to go anywhere with its eerie sort of mood.
So, in conclusion, then, I really enjoyed this album. They're a band that are a slow burner. They grow on you, and you probably might have noticed that the cover, if you've explored this album, is quite a psychedelic type colour. It sort of has images of a mountain which is linked with sort of skulls and various other occult things, and smoke coming out of the mountain, and it's all rather reflective of the German music at the time when Mercer was living there as a young boy. And I would suggest that you get to listen to this one, but you must be prepared to put in some time, 3 or 4 listens minimum.